Before fast food chains dotted every highway and microwaves hummed in every kitchen, there was the Southern table. A place of cast iron skillets, slow Sundays, and smells that wrapped around the house like a hymn. These weren't meals pulled from boxes or frozen aisles. They were born from gardens, gossip, and good sense. Every dish told a story of family, faith, and survival. So pull up a chair, loosen your belt, and pour some sweet tea. Tonight, we're remembering the forgotten flavors that once defined Southern comfort, the dishes that fed generations, one pot, one pie, one prayer at a time. Fried green tomatoes. Crisp on the outside, tangy in the middle. The taste of late summer when the tomatoes refused to ripen and waste wasn't an option. Every slice was a little rebellion against time itself. They'd sit in a bowl dusted with cornmeal, salt, and a whisper of pepper before being laid into a skillet slick with bacon grease. The sizzle was church music, sharp, steady, and holy in its own right. The air filled with a perfume of smoke and salt as the edges curled golden. Folks ate them hot, stacked on white bread with a smear of mayonnaise, juice dripping onto the plate like proof of perfection. Others wrapped leftovers in paper towels for tomorrow, eating them cold over the sink with a grin. They weren't just food. They were a Southern declaration. When life gives you green tomatoes, make something worth remembering. Tomato aspic. No Southern church potluck was complete without this wobbly wonder, part salad, part dare. The red mold glistened proudly under fluorescent lights, looking like something out of a magazine and tasting like something out of time. It started with tomato juice simmered with celery, onion, lemon, and a dash of vinegar, bright and tangy, almost refreshing, then mixed with gelatin until it quivered into form. When it slid from its mold, it shimmered like stained glass, a jewel from another era. Served with a dollop of mayonnaise or a scoop of cottage cheese, it divided the crowd. Half polite smiles, half genuine delight. Housewives swapped recipes in whispers, swearing their secret was Worcestershire or Tabasco. To outsiders, it was strange. To Southerners, it was heritage, in gelatin form. A reminder of the days when presentation mattered, and a little creativity could make even a vegetable sing. Chicken and dumplings. It began with a smell, savory steam rising from a pot that had been bubbling since noon. Chicken simmered slow with carrots, celery, and onions, turning the broth silky and golden. Then came the dumplings. Soft clouds of dough dropped gently into the bubbling surface, swelling as they cooked, soaking in the soul of the soup. The window panes fogged, the floor creaked, and for a moment, the house felt smaller, warmer, closer. Every spoonful was a story, of grandmothers with flour-dusted aprons, of quiet evenings and the sound of rain on tin roofs. Tender chicken fell apart with the touch of a fork, butter melted into the broth, and time itself seemed to slow to the rhythm of the spoon scraping the bowl. It wasn't just supper, it was a balm for heartbreak, homesickness, and hunger alike. Deviled eggs with paprika dust. There was no gathering without them. Rows of halved eggs, gleaming like pearls, filled with a golden mixture of yolk, mustard, and mayonnaise. Some added pickle relish, others a dash of hot sauce, but all crowned them with that final red flourish, a dusting of paprika like Southern stardust. They sat proudly on cut glass trays, waiting for curious fingers and compliments alike. You could taste the occasion in every bite. Easter mornings, wedding receptions, porch parties that stretched till dusk. They were simple, yes, but never plain. The filling was creamy and sharp, the whites cool and firm, the kind of balance only generations of hands could perfect. And no matter how many you made, they vanished first, gone faster than gossip after church. In every Southern kitchen, there was a secret to the perfect deviled egg, and every cook swore theirs could start a revival. Ambrosia salad, the South's answer to paradise in a bowl, sweet, creamy, and unapologetically joyful. Orange segments glistened like sunrise, mingling with bright red cherries, coconut flakes, and sometimes a handful of pineapple for good measure. Everything floated together in a cloud of whipped cream or sour cream, chilled until the flavors married, and the bowl itself seemed to glow. It wasn't just dessert, it was memory. The taste of Sunday dinners, Easter afternoons, and Christmas mornings when cousins ran barefoot through the yard. The first spoonful hit like sunshine after rain, cool, citrusy, and soft as laughter. Every family had their own secret touch, a sprinkle of pecans, a dash of vanilla, maybe even marshmallows if the cook felt generous. Ambrosia wasn't made for restraint, it was made for love, served from glass bowls that caught the light and hearts in equal measure. Liver and onions. Before superfoods, there was liver, iron-rich, earthy, and impossible to ignore. Housewives fried it dark in cast-iron skillets heavy with butter, the sizzle joined by the hiss of onions turning golden and sweet. The smell filled the house, climbing the stairs, creeping under doors, equal parts comfort and dread, depending on who you asked. Parents swore it put strength in your blood. Children pushed it around their plates, praying for mercy. But once you learned to love it, there was no going back. The meat, tender and rich, melted under the bite, the onions cutting the bitterness like forgiveness. Served with mashed potatoes and gravy, it was a blue-collar feast, bold, unapologetic, and sustaining. It may not have won hearts easily, but it fed generations with quiet power. Okra gumbo. From Louisiana kitchens to Georgia porches, gumbo wasn't just a dish. It was an inheritance, a bubbling cauldron of flavor that carried the soul of every cook who ever stirred it. Okra, the great thickener, gave it a velvet body. Onions, peppers, and celery built its holy trinity. Then came the meat, maybe shrimp, chicken, or sausage. Each piece baptized in spice and broth until the whole pot sang with Cajun fire and Creole grace. No two gumbos were ever the same because gumbo followed instinct, not instructions. A dash of this, a pinch of that, and a taste test that could turn into a sermon. Served steaming over rice, it fed both bellies and spirits, bringing whole families to the table. In every bowl was the heartbeat of the South, complex, soulful, and meant to be shared. Pimento cheese spread. The caviar of the South, but cheaper, louder, and infinitely better. Blocks of sharp cheddar grated by hand, folded into mayonnaise and chopped red pimentos until the mixture gleamed like summer itself. Some added a shot of hot sauce, others a dusting of cayenne, but every version had personality. Spread on white bread for quick sandwiches, slathered on celery sticks for parties, or dolloped on burgers hot off the grill. Pimento cheese turned the ordinary into something worth remembering. It was always there, tucked in Tupperware, chilling in the fridge, ready for visitors who just stopped by. Bright, creamy, and a little mischievous, it carried the charm of the women who made it, sharp-tongued, kind-hearted, and always ready to feed you whether you were hungry or not. Banana pudding with Nilla wafers. The crown jewel of the Southern dessert table, golden, cool, and as comforting as a grandmother's hug. It started with the rhythm of a whisk. Milk, sugar, eggs, and vanilla thickening into pudding so smooth it could quiet a room. Then came the layers, sliced bananas soft as butter, vanilla wafers crisp and sweet, stacked in alternating tiers of love and patience. Time did the rest, softening the cookies into velvet perfection. The final flourish was a cloud of meringue, browned at the edges until it cracked like sugar glass beneath the spoon. Served warm in winter or chilled on a hot July afternoon, banana pudding was the South's version of peace itself. Every bite carried memory, laughter, porch swings, and stories that never needed to be written down because they were already baked into the pudding. Fried chicken livers. A delicacy that hid behind modesty. Cheap, overlooked, but treated with reverence in Southern kitchens. Dredged in seasoned flour, salt, pepper, maybe a hint of paprika, then dropped into hot oil where they hissed and danced. The crust turned crisp and golden. The inside stayed tender, earthy, and rich. Some ate them straight with hot sauce that burned like redemption. Others dipped them in honey for a sweetness that made the contrast sing. Served with coleslaw, biscuits, or nothing but a cold beer, fried chicken livers were proof that the South never wasted flavor or courage. The first bite always surprised newcomers, bold, buttery, unforgettable. For those who grew up with them, they weren't just food. They were family tradition, passed down with a wink and a skillet that never stayed clean for long. Cabbage rolls. They were never meant to be fancy, but they always felt like a celebration. Big green cabbage leaves softened by boiling water, laid out like parchment, ready to be filled. The stuffing, rice, pork, onions, a little garlic if the budget allowed, was rolled tight inside, each one tucked like a secret. They simmered slow in a pot of tomato sauce spiced with love, filling the air with a smell that wrapped around the house like a quilt. By supper, the sauce had thickened, the rice had swelled, and the rolls glistened like treasures pulled from the garden. Some folks called them poor man's feast, but in truth, they were fit for kings, comfort disguised as thrift. When they hit the plate, the knife slipped through without effort, releasing steam that smelled of patience. It wasn't just food, it was proof that care could make even the humblest ingredients taste noble. Cornbread dressing. It wasn't Thanksgiving unless someone's kitchen smelled like cornbread dressing, though, truth be told, Southerners didn't wait for holidays to make it. Leftover cornbread crumbled into a bowl, soaked with warm broth, mixed with onions, celery, and sage until the scent alone could stop conversation. Eggs bound it together, butter made it golden, and when it baked, the top crisped to perfection while the inside stayed soft and rich. Every grandmother had her own version, each sworn to be the right one. Some used white breadcrumbs, others swore by chicken drippings, and more than a few added boiled eggs or giblets for good measure. It came to the table steaming in cast iron skillets or glass dishes, fragrant with nostalgia and generosity. Each spoonful was both tender and hearty, as if it carried the memory of every meal that came before it. In the South, dressing wasn't just a side. It was the soul of the meal, baked golden and full of stories. Salmon patties. Born of necessity, perfected by pride. A can of salmon opened on a Friday evening could stretch to feed a family, mixed with breadcrumbs, egg, onions, and a little mustard, then shaped into patties that hit the skillet with a satisfying hiss. The smell was unmistakable, savory, coastal, and comforting all at once. Fried until crisp and golden, the edges curled ever so slightly, and the center stayed tender, flaky, and bright. They were plated beside creamed corn, maybe a spoon of coleslaw or mashed potatoes, and eaten slow while the world outside melted into twilight. Children dunked them in ketchup, grown-ups squeezed lemon over top, and everyone left the table full. They weren't fancy, but they were dependable, a working-class delicacy that made the ordinary miraculous. In the South, Salmon patties didn't just stretch a dollar, they stretched hearts, proving that good food doesn't need extravagance, only care and a hot skillet. Stewed tomatoes and okra. A dish so simple it was easy to overlook, yet so flavorful it never stayed on the table long. Fresh okra sliced thin, its edges curling like green ribbons, joined by ripe tomatoes bursting with juice and color. Butter went in first, then everything else followed. A little sugar to balance the acid, a touch of salt, and maybe a slice or two of bacon if the cook felt generous. The mixture simmered until the okra turned tender and the tomatoes melted into a rustic sauce that glistened under the light. Served over rice or spooned beside pork chops, it was comfort and color in one bowl. Every bite tasted like sunshine and rain. The garden distilled into warmth. It didn't shout for attention, it simply did its job, grounding the meal, feeding the heart, and reminding everyone that sometimes the quietest dishes carry the loudest memories. Sweet potato casserole with marshmallows. A dish so southern it could start an argument. Some said marshmallows didn't belong. Others said they were the whole point. Either way, nobody turned it down. Sweet potatoes boiled soft, mashed with butter, brown sugar, and a dash of cinnamon until the mix shone like amber. A layer of mini marshmallows spread across the top, waiting to melt and blister under the oven's heat. The smell hit first. Warm, nutty, sweet. The scent of autumn, holidays, and home. When it came out, the marshmallows had turned golden and crisp around the edges, their caramelized tops sticking to every serving spoon. Served piping hot, it walked the line between dessert and dinner, a little scandalous, entirely southern. Children fought for the corner pieces, adults pretended to take just a small spoonful, and everyone went back for seconds. In the end, no one cared about rules, only about the way the sweetness lingered, long after the plates were empty. Chicken tetrazzini. The Sunday best casserole, creamy, golden, and proud of it, born from leftovers, perfected through love. Tender egg noodles tangled in a silken cream sauce thick with mushrooms, peas, and shredded chicken. A sprinkle of cheese over the top, sometimes breadcrumbs too, baked until it bubbled like applause beneath the oven light. The smell filled the kitchen, butter, garlic, and comfort woven together, calling families from every corner of the house. Mamas served it with sweet tea and green beans, proud of how far a single chicken could go. Each bite was a perfect harmony of textures. The soft noodles, the tender meat, the crisp edges browned just enough to taste like home. It was elegance made from economy, proof that Southern women could turn scraps into celebration. When it hit the table, it wasn't just dinner. It was grace, baked in cream and served warm. Hoppin' John, more than a dish, a promise. Black-eyed peas, rice, and smoky bacon simmered together in one pot until the flavors became inseparable. On New Year's Day, every Southern kitchen echoed with the same rhythm. The gentle bubbling of peas, the scrape of a wooden spoon, the soft hiss of cornbread baking beside it. Folks ate it for luck, believing each pea meant a coin in the year ahead, but the truth was simpler. It just tasted like belonging. The peas earthy and tender, the rice fluffy and honest, the bacon salt binding it all with love. Some added hot sauce, some chopped onion, others just kept it plain and perfect. Whether eaten from fine china or tin bowls, it carried the same message, that fortune favors the faithful and flavor favors the humble. In every bite, Hoppin' John whispered the same word the South has always lived by: hope. Country-style steak with gravy. The kind of meal that started with patience and ended with peace. Cube steak dredged in seasoned flour, fried golden, then smothered in onion gravy thick as devotion. The sizzle of the meat in hot oil was music enough to stop conversation. When the onions hit the skillet, the smell rose like memory, sharp, sweet, and promising. Slowly, everything came together under a heavy lid, simmering until tender enough to cut with a fork. Served with mashed potatoes, buttered corn, and biscuits soft as clouds, it was the definition of comfort. Every bite tasted of time well spent, the gravy clinging to the steak, the onions melting like silk. It was food that healed the soul after long weeks, bad days, and quiet heartbreaks. Around Southern tables, country-style steak wasn't just supper. It was the reminder that no matter what life took from you, a good meal could still give something back. Tomato sandwich. Just white bread, mayonnaise, salt, and thick-cut garden tomatoes. And yet somehow, perfection. There was nothing fancy about it, and that was its genius. The bread had to be soft, the mayo generous, and the tomato so ripe that the first bite sent juice running down your wrists. It was summer captured between two slices. Simple, fleeting, unforgettable. Farmers swore by it after long days in the field. Grandmothers made it for lunch with a sigh of satisfaction that needed no words. The salt stung the lips, the mayo soothed it, and for a moment, time slowed to the rhythm of a porch fan and cicadas in the distance. It was the meal that asked for nothing but a tomato, still warm from the sun, and a little gratitude. No garnish, no sides, just the taste of home, pure and honest as the soil it grew from. Buttermilk pie. At first glance, it looked humble, pale, plain, unassuming. But one slice in, and the truth revealed itself. Tangy, sweet, and silken, with a golden crust that cracked like old parchment under the fork. The filling, a mixture of sugar, eggs, butter, and buttermilk, baked into something halfway between custard and heaven. The scent that rose from the oven was soft and nostalgic. A little lemon, a little vanilla, a lot of love. Served chilled from the icebox, the texture was velvet. Served warm, it melted into the soul. Every Southern cook had their own take. Some added nutmeg, others a hint of cornmeal or zest, but all agreed it was the taste of quiet triumph. Buttermilk pie was the kind of dessert that didn't beg for attention. It earned it, one creamy bite at a time. Sweet, simple, and eternal. The South's most modest masterpiece. Brunswick stew. A pot big enough to feed the town. Chicken, pork, corn, and tomatoes stewed till everything blurred into smoky perfection. Every region claimed to have invented it, and every grandmother insisted hers was the only true one. Fried cabbage with bacon. Nothing fancy, just chopped cabbage, sizzling bacon, and black pepper in a cast-iron skillet. The smell alone could draw the neighbors in. Crunchy, salty, and real. It was what you cooked when you wanted something good without pretending. Chess pie. A relic of resourcefulness. Sugar, butter, eggs, and cornmeal, that's it. The filling baked into a caramelized dream that cracked gently under the fork. Served with coffee or silence, it tasted like simplicity done right. Pineapple upside-down cake. Golden rings, cherries glowing like rubies, and caramel syrup dripping down soft cake. It came out of the oven looking like a celebration and tasted like Sunday in the 60s. Bright, sweet, and unapologetically retro. Chicken bog. A Carolina treasure. Rice, chicken, and smoked sausage cooked in one pot until it turned rich, savory, and impossible to forget. It fed big families and small towns, each bite heavy with comfort and history. The Southern kitchen of the 1950s through the 1970s wasn't polished. It was practical. A place where butter was medicine, Leftovers were opportunity, and love was measured in scoops, not spoons. These dishes weren't about perfection, they were about people. About mothers humming hymns while stirring gravy, children sneaking bites off the counter, and families gathering around tables that knew every story worth telling. Because true Southern food doesn't need fame, it only needs remembering. One biscuit, one casserole, one memory at a time.